Hello everyone, I am Nandika Tripathi, Senior Sub-Editor, Forbes India. Hope you're all having a great time. Moving on to the next session. As per a KPMG report, the number of online gamers in India grew from nearly 250 million gamers in 2018 to about 400 million by the mid of 2020. Growing steadily for the last 5 years, it is expected to triple in value and reach $3.9 billion by 2025. So is it time to seize the opportunities much ahead of the curve? Well, the upcoming panel titled The Future of Online Gaming in India will aim to put things in perspective about the plethora of opportunities as well as challenges that this industry faces and what we can do about them. May I now call upon stage Naini Thaker, Senior Sub-Editor, Forbes India, to moderate this session. And please welcome the speakers for this panel, Anirudh Pandita, founder Loco and Pocket Aces, and Manish Agarwal, CEO of Nazara Technologies. Over to you, Naini.
Thank you, Nandika. The gaming industry, as she mentioned, has clearly been growing. So thank you so much, both of you, Anirudh and Manish, for joining us today. According to KPMG, the user base for gaming industry is projected to increase from 433 million last year to 657 million in 2025, which is almost over a 50% increase, and there's a lot that's going to be happening. So, without any further ado, let's get right to it and find out what these two gaming founders have to say about what the future of gaming looks like in this country. So, Manish, I think this has been addressed in our past two panels already, but I'm still going to start with this to set context for the rest of the panel, which is, what does the future look like for the gaming industry in India?
Single monosyllable, bright.
Right. I love how you put that. Anything else that you would like to add to that and, elaborate a little?
I think Anirudh will elaborate it.
Okay.
I think one of the things that people don't appreciate about gaming is that it's the cheapest form of entertainment.
Right.
Right? For Netflix, you have to pay a certain amount, but PUBG Mobile, which is now called BGMI, is free to play. Right? And if you're in a small town or a village, you have access to data. You may not have access to a mall, you may not have access to a bar or a playground or whatever, but you have access to this amazing wide world where you can meet people from across India, hang out with them, and do it basically just for the cost of data, which you would do if you were also on Netflix, but you would actually not interact with anybody. So actually, it's the most immersive and cheapest form of entertainment. And that's why you're seeing growth from across India. It's not, when we talk about gaming, we don't say tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3, tier Z. It's across India. And I think the numbers, whether it's in the monthly active users, number of viewers, is showing that growth. And yeah, we are just getting started in the growth curve here.
Fantastic. And streaming is, one, of course, the focus, but just one part of a lot of other things that Loco does as well, right? So would you say going forward, integration and consolidation, like one standalone app for a bunch of different services the way forward, or having standalone applications for, one particular game or one service is the way forward?
If I may say in Hindi, wo khan market ek dukaan se nahi banti. So you need lots of different players for a value chain to succeed.
Absolutely.
And so, Nordwin, which is their portfolio company, we work with them very closely to create quality content, support that. We're working with small creators who want to be the future Nordwins of the world. We are trying to work with new game developers and help them get exposure on Loco, right? Of course, we have a selfish motive that more people watch games and the number of categories that exist in India deepen. And if the game is actually Indian, that would be even better. And I think we have a lot of the different pieces there. And from our point of view as Loco, we can provide them distribution, we can provide them the eyeballs. And for us, if they succeed, they can provide us a new category. So it's a win-win there. And we are very focused on making sure that the streamer and fan interaction becomes more immersive. Because that's something you cannot get in a sport or in film or something. If you want to hang out with your favorite actor, you can't do it. But you can hang out with your favorite gamer. If you want to practice with, a Sachin or a Rishabh Pant, you can't do it. In gaming, you can do it. And that is the level of interaction that you can have, which is not possible elsewhere. So I think the fandom is also that much more because of that reason. And so we are allowing for that to happen as well. So, we are not so focused on just putting everything in one app, but we are very focused in, in investing in different parts of that value chain so that once they succeed, then we will also succeed. Without them, we can't succeed.
Absolutely. And we can't be talking about the future of gaming without talking about Web3, right? Which is the buzzword right now. So recently Nazara Technologies announced that it's going to work on creating a cricket offering in Web3, leveraging its strengths from its subsidiary, Next Wave Multimedia. Manish, if you can tell us a little more about, about this and how will Web3 change what gaming in India looks like?
Are you sitting in a real world or virtual world? It's Leela Words or Leela Palace? So I think, and I always say that, you need to kind of distinguish as a technology, what is that technology really bringing to the fore? Is a very strong ownership, transparency, assets, which can be ascribed and attributed to you. And that's the fundamental aspect of it. On top of it, nothing has changed. You want to build immersive experiences, you want to build social interactions, and in gaming we have been doing it for donkey years, right? When you build an endless game, when you build an avatars, when you build multiplayer games, you kind of build a virtual community already. The closed garden ecosystem of games is now opening up. And now you're creating an open garden where you not just purchase an item, you purchase a nice t-shirt and then you can flaunt it on streaming, you can flaunt it in another game. And I'm seeing it on Loco, after wearing a t-shirt, I like to buy it, I can go and buy that NFT. So I think that whole aspect of owning an asset which has created a value because it is coming out of your time which you've spent. So value of time. All of us make money by giving our time. The gamers were creating value for others and the platforms were getting richer. Hopefully blockchain, entire ecosystem will get richer and not just the platforms will get richer. And I think that's where we at Nazara believe that in a country like India, where the per capita income is pretty low, and in the first panel we heard, in the second panel we heard that the freemium in-app purchase ratio of paying to playing users is pretty low. While there is a game of skill, there is a pay to participate, there is a pay to play. Why are those models bigger? Because there is a tangible income which I can get. Now if you can really make a game fun to play and during the time which I'm spending I can earn money, that whole play and earn can really open the gaming in India. And that's the promise of the blockchain-based GameFi, which we are talking about. And I think in that space, it's no-brainer that you are mixing the largest thing of cricket. You are already mixing a big IP. Just now IPL has concluded rights auction, we know what crazy. And I hope, and Anirudh hopes, and everybody hopes in the industry in gaming, that a virtual cricket in 10 years from now will fetch you the same media rights revenues so that all of us can enjoy. And that can only happen when there is a sharing of wealth of the ecosystem. And that's what the cricket offering for us is a natural conclusion of that. Will it kind of really change my P&L today, tomorrow? It's not, right? Will it try to kind of really create more engagement? Will it create more kind of community and cult feeling around IP? Yes. So currently the promise is to really build a community, gradually evolve a business model around it so that you can eventually translate into a P&L. And as Nazara, we always believe cash flows, not just the EBITDA, is important, and that's what we will build it towards.
Right. And Anirudh, Loco is also planning to move into the Web3 space, right? As someone who's not part of the ecosystem just yet and is planning to get into it, talk to us about some of the challenges of being in the Web3 industry in India.
Yeah, I think as Manish mentioned, the ability to own something is huge. Like that is a transformation for someone who's spending a lot of their time in the virtual world, right? Loco is India's largest game streaming platform. People are spending, there are days they're spending 60 to 90 minutes on the platform watching, which means they must be also playing for another 2-3 hours alongside, right? So they are not doing the same things as I was doing when I was young, which I was watching a lot more sport, for example, then playing some sport, video games. That ratio is probably reversed. So where do you show that fandom? Where do you show, like if I buy, like I'm a big Liverpool fan, I wear that cap all the time. If Liverpool shuts down, I still have the cap. But I can show that when I go to this mall or I walk on the street. But if I'm spending a lot of time online, where do I show, my fandom for something, right? And I think that's where we are going. Now, are we there fully yet? No, definitely not. And I think when you heard Bhavan's session today, when we laud the tigers of the real money gaming space, you realize that they've been working on it, they're 10 years in the making, right? They're not overnight success stories. And a lot of simple things had to be built. You're talking about payment gateways, for example. We take that for granted today with UPI. So the same way in Web3, there are challenges. So for example, if you have to buy an NFT on OpenSea today, you first have to find a way of converting into a cryptocurrency, right? Which is already difficult. Then you, let's say, put it in, WazirX or something. Then you have to put it in a MetaMask wallet. Then from MetaMask, you have to go to OpenSea, connect OpenSea. Then you have to bid on the asset, right? So it's a very difficult process for a normal person. So I think that process needs to be simplified. Yet people are doing it. So that shows you there is an early adopter always jumps through the extra hoops. So I think that needs to be definitely done. We know obviously from a regulation point of view, there has to be clarity on what the government wants, how they want to regulate it. I think that will also come. And I think the development talent, I think it's not so much of a challenge, I think is a good thing for India, is that it's the inversion of the IT model. The IT model always was, India has all these guys who are servicing the US. The fact that today, you could be working for a Web3 company based anywhere in the world, sitting here is very powerful. Like your skill comes out as a developer there, right? So I think that's actually a challenge for the rest of the world, is actually they don't have development talent. That's actually an opportunity for us here in India. And of course, it's going to be volatile and things we're not there yet. But if we were there yet, then, you'd be interviewing us on a yacht or something. I don't know. Manish's yacht, probably.
Right. And Manish, what are some of these new age technologies that you think are likely to change the future of gaming in India?
See, as we all understand, gaming is an immersive entertainment format. The less amount of friction, contraptions, which you need to kind of wear. Like I'm wearing my specs. If that specs can allow me to really create a virtual reality inside a game, I would really, the fun of playing a game as a character, which has a degree of freedom to rotate, to move, to jump, shoot, whatever need to be done, is far, far, far more impressive than just kind of playing with controls. Now, controls are itself immersive versus a passive video consumption. But if you are kind of inside the game, you are the character, there is no other fun. And I don't know how many of you guys have really gone to VR gaming parlors, if I may say, and then just spend that half an hour, though you know that you are in this stage area, but your mind kind of takes over. And then you are in that space. If you're climbing stairs, you really believe you're climbing stairs, and you believe some enemies are coming and all that stuff. And after half an hour or 1 hour, whatever the gameplay is, your shirt is really soaked in your sweat, while you've literally not moved, right? But your mind really takes over. I think that's really the fun part, the friction of wearing a contraption, carrying things. And there is amazing amount of brain power, money, which is working, and umpteen amount of engineers are working on Apple, Facebook, to kind of really make that form factors much easier for us to freely, intuitively move. And I think that's what is really going to happen. And there is no way you can really stop. Think of it in a room, you're playing with your friends in a multiplayer game, and whatever your favorite games are, and you are able to kind of play it as characters. I think that's going to be fascinating. Those of you who have not seen Ready Player One, please go and see it. those kind of suits and gloves, and all of that is not science fiction. And Spielberg thought about it, I think, 15 years back or whatever time frame. But today it's all happening. As I said, the form factors and pricing are the two things which are getting sorted. And I always tell my kids, you are going to be in such a beautiful age that your entertainment forms and formats, I'll be envious of you.
Yeah, this really sounds super exciting and very interesting. And, despite this, there are regulatory hurdles that, our gaming industry has been dealing with for a while now. In such a situation, Anirudh, how important is it to diversify and sort of, hedge your risks, if I were to put it that way?
I think the simplest way I think about regulation is put yourself in the regulator's shoes. I think we often take a very parochial point of view on regulation, that they are silly or they don't understand. It's not like that. Actually, sometimes we don't understand their challenges. Their biggest challenge is not whether poker should be made legal. They have bigger problems. Wars are going on. We have a pandemic, right? So you're way down on their list, and I think you have to understand and have that humility as an entrepreneur. But you also know tomorrow is a new day. You can do a lot of things and improve your own product. So I actually think, rather than thinking of some fancy ways of doing your work, think of simple ways, which is understand where they stand, what are their concerns, and then work with that. And know that regulation is not a static concept. Regulation is dynamic. We have trouble with China today, tomorrow we could be friends with them, then again we have a fight over something else, right? So it will change, and that creates opportunity for a lot of people also, that okay, like what if it changes, what will I do then? Right? So I think you shouldn't worry so much about what will happen, and if the government does this or that. The government, more or less, at least in my discussions with them, are fairly practical and sensible. They just have a lot of other stuff going on, so you are not top of their mind. And I think we are lucky. Hearing Bhavin speak earlier, he was in a time when people didn't understand what startups are, right? Now you have we are meeting ministers. These guys met Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar. We met Anirudh recently, Minister of Minister of Sports and IB, Mr. Anurag Thaker. So we also understanding their point of view, we are telling them our point of view. So it's not like it's a closed problem. So I don't think we should obsess over regulation so much. I think there's too much obsession, especially for smaller founders. Most of this stuff will not matter to you, or you can't control it. So focus on the controllables. And I personally don't feel you should diversify. You're not an investor. Your aim is to create the best product. So create the best product for your users. That's it.
Manish, would you like to weigh in?
I think one of the things which, as young industry and all the industry colleagues, one thing we need to really acknowledge is that we need to be regulated. I think that's the first reality. It's not something which is going to come and eat you alive. It's not something which is going to create a... If you're okay and if you're clear that it's not a banana republic, you will be regulated. Now choice is yours to engage in a constructive manner to really create enabling frameworks which you as industry understand the realities, and you are working with government to really kind of build that. It's great. Now, if you have a kind of a dogmatic response that I don't want to be regulated and I will continue to be the way it is, somebody else will create a regulation for you and then you will play to that music. The choice is yours to really kind of take the lead, be proactive about it and shape the things, or just face the music.
Right. And, we have spoken enough today about how fast this sector is growing. Manish, this question is for you. Clearly, there seems to be like there are enough jobs. And of the reports that we've read, it seems like there isn't enough talent. What is the real issue here, and what can one do, or rather what can the industry do to fix this?
So there are two parts of the question, and I will try to answer them very separately. One is the jobs within gaming. But there are jobs which are being created around the adjacencies of gaming. The whole gaming ecosystem, when a player is or players are playing game, There is an ecosystem which is working beyond that game, which is about you will have influencers, you will have creators, you will have OTT platforms, you will have production houses. If you talk about the game of skill, I have seen personally the coaching classes happening on how to run fantasies. I've had influencers kind of running their subscription engines. I have got YouTube guys who are kind of really running that. So there's a very, very large ecosystem which gets created around games. The aspect which we also miss around gaming is that there is a very big servicing industry operating in India. We have one of the largest studios in Bangalore which are really working for AAA titles on animation, graphics, engineering, and that aspect nobody kind of talks about. So I think the gaming and gaming adjacencies have a potential to create roughly 10 lakh jobs. Now coming to the question which you are asking, let's kind of talk about game development. Now game development is just one aspect of the whole thing. It's a sexier part of it. That's why we keep talking about it. But there is a huge amount of ecosystem as I spoke. Now within game development, one is obviously a skill follows when you give freedom to fail, right? Game is a content. You will fail umpteen number of times if you get it right, which means there has to be a capital for me to iterate. Capital in India is in gaming, thanks to last 2 years of surge and thanks to media, which has been talking about gaming so much. I've been around for 15 years. I've not heard so many media calls versus last 2 years. And that's where the money is now coming in, right? With money comes freedom to fail, freedom to experiment, and that experiment and freedom, along with entrepreneurs coming out from established companies, whether homegrown companies or whether from multinational companies having offices in India, it will grow. I have been in this ecosystem since 2009. I've seen of 20, 30 game studios to now 400 game studios, right? Gaming is always a passion, entrepreneur-driven business. And as more and more such companies become big, the capability happen. Now, there has been a very oft-repeated question, why can't India make it AAA games? Why doesn't India create a next PUBG and next this and that? अरे बहुत पैसे चाहिए होते हैं. अब पैसे दे दो, हम बना देंगे. और आपके पास हिम्मत होनी चाहिए $10 million राइट ऑफ करने की. वो तो कोई देता नहीं है, बस ज्ञान बांटते हैं, right? तो पहले let's kind of build that risk appetite in the venture ecosystem, and then India will create in 3 years, 4 years. Will India ever create? Absolutely, it will create. The size of domestic market is like what you saw in TV in 80s. When we had American, then we have very metro audience content being created, and then Bharat content happens. Same thing will happen here. Now you want to accelerate, give more money. जितनी चीनी डालोगे उतना मीठा होगा.
Right, and I think we're running short on time. So there's this one last question which I'll direct to both of you, which is, what needs to be done now, both from an industry and regulatory point of view, to make the most of this opportunity, which is that this industry is likely to touch $3.9 billion by 2025. Anirudh, if you can go first.
I think just clarity in regulation. If we have clarity on just on the regulatory front, I think we'll be sorted. And Manish said correctly, I think at least most of the good entrepreneurs I know in the space are open to regulation, and they're open to working with regulators to make it an equitable solution from various points of view. So just clear regulation is good. And what else needs to be done? Of course, I think capital has started coming. I think that's a big difference. Honestly, I used to be in these panels when I started Pocket Aces, and I used to talk about gaming as a future entertainment. People used to laugh. They used to think I'm a fool. Now they think I'm a genius. But I'm neither a fool nor a genius. I'm just a guy who's making games and likes games, right? I think the emphasis from the industry has arrived. So I think the moment is also right. And I think the answer, what needs to be done is we need to stop obsessing about AAA title. I think we have, like, Ludo King is a great game, actually. We have to laud the small wins also of this sort, right? And small means it makes a lot of money. But slowly we'll win. Like, it could be a Web3 game that breaks out for India, right? Like PUBG Mobile or Battlegrounds came from a Korean ecosystem, right? They are not Activision or one of these big EA type guys. They came up with it, but they dominated a new sector. So I think we as a nation need to keep an eye on what's next. So if it's going to be Web3, even the way on Loco, we have a lot of demand now. People from Latin America, from the Middle East, Mongolia are asking us, when are you going to come to our countries? Why are they saying that? Because they watch our gamers. They also want to be in these tournaments. They want to be famous also. So it's going to happen. It could come. We could have different vertices of innovation. We shouldn't be worried about playing a race which has already been lost in some sense. Right? So I think that's it. That's all we need to do.
Right. Manish, your thoughts?
I think less governance, more enabling framework is one thing which is needed. I think all the other ducks are lined. We will make it happen. I think the talent pool, ambition, hunger, domestic market, capital is all kind of getting lined up. So I think if we are able to kind of sort out enabling framework across cohorts of games, right? And given that beauty of this market is we have 500 million gamers today growing to 750, you are going to create a lot of gaming business models here, and all of them are going to be very, very big. I truly believe that 10 years from now, top global gaming companies, you will see Indian companies coming out from there. Thank you.
Great. I think this is a great note to end this conversation on. Thank you both so much for the super insightful conversation. And thank you to the audience for being such a great audience. Thank you all so much.